All right, students, I wanted to go over your research paper. Often this is something that students have struggled with in the past, and I really want to ensure your success when it comes to drafting and creating this important work. When it comes to history, writing is really what history is all about. How you present history, how you show history, can really tell a lot about your research capabilities, and researching and writing history also can help you if you are ever at a job and it requires research. So this will benefit you in the long run understanding too. Now, the research paper overview that I'm about to go through is going to be found in your course content, all right? So I have included what you're looking at on the screen, and you're going to be able to see it directly. You're going to be able to study it and ensure that you understand all the elements that I'm expecting. But I'm going to go through it here really quickly with you. That way I can explain kind of where I'm coming from also. First and foremost, what can you write it on? Well, pretty much everything that is American history from 1877 to the modern era. I've decided to leave this always very open for students. That way they can write on something that they're really interested in, and therefore it gives them a bit more of a desire to write these papers instead of just simply throwing something out there at the last minute, okay? So when you are picking out a subject, make sure that it is, of course, American history in the proper eras. Do not be writing papers about the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, or George Washington, as they do not fall into the 1877 to modern era portion of the history course, okay? Secondly, it has to be American. So I know that people often are going, well, duh, but every now and then I get people who decide they want to write a paper about something that happened in Central and South America that has nothing to do with America, okay? I even get papers about Russia. I get papers about Australia. All those things, they are not directly American related. So if you're writing about Australia, hopefully you're writing about American troop presence during World War II in Australia, okay? Has to be focused. Also, if you're writing about a famous person of the era, even though they may fall with things that are happening during the United States history. So, for example, if you're talking about the Cold War and Nikita Khrushchev is out there, and you're like, Nikita Khrushchev seems like he's kind of interesting to write about after he bangs his shoe on the floor of the UN. Yeah, he is interesting, but he's not an American, okay? So focus on an American individual. Another thing too is you are not going to write me biographies. For example, if you're writing about Teddy Roosevelt and you think you can do that in 6 to 8 pages, you can't, because there's historians who have written literally 1,000-page books on Teddy Roosevelt. So you can't tell me about his entire life in that time frame. Instead, focus on a portion of his life if you want to. So, for example, he had cattle ranching interests in the Dakotas. He was a police commissioner in New York City. He did great works on conservation efforts throughout the United States. All those things are more narrowly focused topics that you can focus in upon. If you're writing about World War II, maybe focus on a particular American battle, Battle of Midway, Battle of the Coral Sea, Battle of the Bulge, D-Day, but try to avoid things that have been overly written upon too. So if you're going to do something on D-Day, you need to make that so narrowly focused that you can't go on and find a YouTube video that somebody's done on it. That's really where I'm at. If you're writing on anything, this should not be something I can just go on YouTube and find, all right? You need to really make this unique and different. You need to make sure you put the effort into it. Now, a few other things. Your paper must be between 6 and 8 pages. 6 and 8 pages do not account for a title or reference page. And 6 to 8 pages means 6 to 8 full pages. That does not mean you've written page 5, you got a paragraph under page 6, and that's 6 pages. It needs to be 6 full pages. Anything over 8 pages, it better be so critically important that you couldn't fit it into the paper anywhere else, and that's why you're over. I will not dock you for it, but if you're just putting flourishes throughout your paper that are unnecessary, I will dock you for going over, okay? I do not want to read a 20-page paper, trust me. If I was teaching a master's level program, I would, but you guys are in the early stages of historical research and writing, all right? You're going to be using Chicago style throughout this course whenever you are writing. This is what historians actually use. So I will have another presentation here on how to do Chicago style, okay? I'm not going to leave you hanging and without a way forward. All right, on top of that, you must use 3 primary sources and 3 secondary academic sources right here, see? All right, do not use Wikipedias, .coms, or other unreliable sources. You're going to use digital libraries. You're going to use research tools. There's tons of stuff out there that you can use that are better than those other sites that you're even looking at. A lot of the extra reading you're going to be doing in my course is going to have papers like that you could find out on the internet, that you can find a lot more direct and pertinent information about what you want to write about, okay? And much more narrowly focused. You have to cite all your sources, okay? Do not plagiarize. I will fail your paper. I'm sorry. That's as simple as I'm going to make it. If you do not properly cite, then I will give you a 0 on the paper. And I really don't want to do that. If you are struggling with how to cite something, talk to me, okay? Don't just say, I hope this is good enough, and then have it go through the plagiarism checker and I have it come back with, all sorts of alerts on it, and then you are going to fail. I don't want that to happen, all right? Make sure that you talk to me, all right? And really, other elements you're going to learn is that history, of course, is going to be written in the third person. You're going to write it in the past tense, and this is a big one that catches a lot of students. Do not use I and we statements, all right? Please don't. For love of Pete, don't do it. All right, another thing. Let's go over what I'm going to be looking at when it comes actually to grading the paper, okay? This rubric is also included in your course content, so you can pull this up at any point and you can see if you're on track to get these points, all right? These advanced ones, this is what's going to get you to an A. And again, like I said, I grade pretty tough, but if you're hitting all of these elements, you're going to get an A. This is basically proficient is your B level, developing, that's pretty much C and below, okay? And if it's not present, that's just F territory. We don't want Fs. So really look over this as you're writing your paper. Make sure you're hitting these key points, all right? Lastly, let's talk a little bit about deadlines. I have included this sheet for you so that you are able to look at it and see when due dates for everything are. This is in your syllabus, so make sure you look at your course syllabus, because everything when it's due and what you need to read is all going to be included there, okay? First and foremost, your first deadline on the paper is in week 5. You are going to get 10 points when you turn in your paper approval. Paper approval is going to be consisting of your working thesis statement, which you are going to be writing about. During that time, I'm either going to approve or deny your subject, okay? If I approve it, it may come with some notes as to how you can narrow it down. If I reject it, I will tell you why and help work on a way that we can find something you're interested in, or how to narrow the topic down in order for it to work. You can get 10 points on this no matter what, as long as we work it out, okay? Make sure you do not fail to submit it during this time, because if you do not have a working thesis that is going to allow for you to have success, then you are going to struggle for the rest of the time as you're writing this paper. Your next deadline is going to be in week 9. You're going to have what's called the final paper sources review. I would prefer if by this point you're operating with a rough draft, so I can look over your rough draft and see how you're placing your sources in there and if they're accurate. You need to have some sources that you can put into this post. I need to see some primary sources. I need to see some secondary sources, so I know that you're making progress, okay? And then finally, your paper itself is going to be due on week 14. And it's going to be submitted through Canvas. It's going to go through the plagiarism checker, and that's how I'm going to be able to finally review and look over your paper. Going back to kind of the grading rubric again, I am going to be using that to grade your paper. I'll be leaving notes throughout your paper so that you know why I graded things, where I graded them. I will also use the rubric and show you what points you had earned and if I have any feedback on that front, okay? Use all your resources, so please, if you do not believe that you're a great writer or that you've struggled with writing in the past, Valencia has writing labs. They have people that are willing to help you. There's tutoring sources. You can utilize me. Just do not sit there and struggle to write a paper and then feel like you're so lost that you have no other choice but to just copy and paste things from the internet. Don't do it. I really do not want to fail your paper. If you've gotten to that point, you really need to reach out to me, and please do not be reaching out to me on 11/26 at 10 p.m. saying I don't know what to do, okay? If you are having trouble, reach out to me early so that I can get you over those problem areas, all right? But this goes over what I expect on your paper, and I will see you guys in our next video when we go over and we talk about what I mean when it comes to Chicago style citations and, more importantly, how to write a paper.